Before the Oscars, before Jaws, E.T., or Jurassic Park, before he became one of the most powerful storytellers in history, Steven Spielberg was a kid nobody believed in. He was rejected, dyslexic, and told he would never, ever make it. This is the story of how the kid who could get into film school ended up changing cinema forever. His movies have grossed over $10 billion. It's inspired generations and completely redefined what a blockbuster could be. But the story behind the legend is one of struggle, rejection, and relentless, unstoppable passion. This is the Steven Spielberg story nobody tells you. Steven Allen Spielberg was born in 1946. He grew up feeling like an outsider everywhere he went. His family was Jewish in neighborhoods where almost no one else was. The bullying was constant. He was pushed around, mocked, and humiliated day after day. He felt invisible, isolated. But school was even worse. Steven struggled to read. Letters would dance and jump around on the page. His teachers thought he was lazy or just not very bright. He failed exams and barely scraped by in his classes. Every single day at school felt like more proof that he just wasn't good enough. It wasn't until decades later as an adult that he was diagnosed with dyslexia. But as a child, all he knew was that the classroom felt like an impossible place to be. He felt broken and totally alone. Then, one day, everything changed. His father bought him an 8mm camera. And for the very first time, Steven felt like he had control over his world. He started making short films right there in his garage, created epic war scenes, thrilling adventure stories, anything his powerful imagination could conjure up. He'd recruit his friends as actors, build his own sets from whatever he could find, and meticulously edit the footage by hand, frame by frame. Movies became his sanctuary, his escape. While the world kept telling him he wasn't smart enough, filmmaking made him feel powerful. It was the one place he truly belonged. But there was one person who didn't see it that way, his own father. Movies aren't a real career, he'd tell him. Find something practical. Stop dreaming and get a real job. But Steven couldn't stop. He didn't listen. By the time he was in high school, he had already made dozens of short films. Some of them even won local awards. His passion was undeniable, but his grades were still terrible. And a much bigger, more formal rejection was just around the corner. Steven applied to his dream school, the prestigious University of Southern California Film School. They rejected him. He applied again. Rejected. He tried UCLA's film school. Rejected again. He was crushed. His dream felt like it was over before it had even begun. He ended up enrolling in a state college, not for film, but for English. It seemed like the practical choice his father had always wanted, but Steven Spielberg refused to quit. So he did something incredibly bold. Put on his father's suit, grabbed an empty briefcase, and just walked onto the Universal Studios lot, pretending he worked there. And he kept doing it every single day. He'd wander the back lot, watch legendary directors work, study the film crews, and quietly absorb everything he could about how movies were really made. For months, nobody even noticed the kid in the oversized suit. He was just another face in the crowd. Until one day, someone did. He managed to show a Universal executive a short film he had made called Amblin. The executive was stunned. The film was polished, professional, and deeply moving. Right then and there, at just 21 years old. Steven Spielberg signed a 7-year directing contract with Universal Television. He became the youngest director ever hired by a major studio. You'd think that was his big break, but Hollywood still didn't trust him. They gave him TV episodes, small budgets, and absolutely no creative respect. The old-timers saw him as just a kid playing with a camera, but Steven was determined to prove them all wrong. In 1971, he was given a TV movie to direct called Duel. It had a low budget and an impossibly short timeline. Steven poured everything he had into it. The film, about a driver being terrorized by a massive, unseen truck driver, was brilliant. It was pure, terrifying suspense. Critics loved it. Audiences were hooked. Finally, Hollywood started to pay serious attention. Then, in 1974, Steven was offered a project that nobody else wanted. It was a movie based on a popular novel about a killer shark. The production was an absolute nightmare from day one. The mechanical sharks, nicknamed Bruce, kept breaking down. The unpredictable ocean weather ruined shots. The budget skyrocketed. Studio executives were panicking. They were convinced the movie was a disaster and that this young director's career was finished. So, Steven had to adapt. Since he couldn't show the broken shark, he decided to use suspense instead. He used John Williams' terrifying score, clever camera angles from the shark's point of view, and the sheer power of the audience's imagination to create fear. He made us afraid of what we couldn't see. In the summer of 1975, Jaws was released. It didn't just become a hit, it became the biggest movie ever made at the time. It created the summer blockbuster as we know it today. Steven Spielberg was just 27 years old. What followed was history. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., The Extraterrestrial, Jurassic Park. Film after film, he captured the world's imagination. But Steven wanted more than just box office success. In 1993, he achieved the unthinkable. He released 2 monumental films in the same year. First, Jurassic Park, a technological marvel that revolutionized special effects. And then, Schindler's List, a profound and deeply personal masterpiece about the Holocaust. That year, he finally won his first Oscar for Best Director. The bullied kid who struggled to read had become one of the greatest and most respected artists in history. Steven Spielberg was rejected more times than most people ever even try. Had a learning disability that made him feel stupid. He had bad grades. He had no connections. He didn't have his own father's approval, but he never, ever stopped creating. Steven once said, "I don't dream at night. I dream all day. I'm dreaming for a living." So if you've ever been rejected, if you've ever been doubted, if anyone has ever told you that you're not good enough, remember this story? Remember the kid who couldn't get into film school? Remember that your story isn't over yet? Keep dreaming, keep building, keep creating. The world is still waiting for your story. Thanks for watching.